Hello world, it's Sumit, and in today's session we're going to learn about logistic regression. So before heading up, I'm going to give you a brief outline of what we're going to cover up in today's session. So first we're going to see what is logistic regression. Then moving ahead, we're going to see the odds of success. Once we're going to understand this odd of success, then we're going to use the extension of this odd of success to apply that on the equation of a straight line to derive the logistic equation. So once this part is done, then we're going to move ahead to see the difference between linear regression and the logistic regression. So once that is done, we're going to see the model evaluation, like what are the different types of which we can evaluate the model. We're going to see the confusion matrix or the classification report and the types of this confusion matrix. Then we're going to see the types and use case, like how we can apply and the different types of logistic regression and where we can use this logistic regression. Then at last, in the final coding session, we're going to see the two use cases. The first one would be person survival prediction, where we're going to see based on the data where that person will be able to survive or not. Then the second would be ad click prediction. In this, we're going to see based on the user info for the recommended ads, where the user is going to click on that ad or not. So let's start. So the first question comes what is logistic regression? So it's a probabilistic model which determines the order of success based on the independent variable. Since it's a probability, so the output always lies between 0 and 1. So if you can see this graph or this diagram, you can see this blue line depicts the linear model, whereas this S line depicts the logistic model. So this blue line, as I explained in my previous video for the linear regression, it can be in any range. Let's say it could be greater than 0, 1 or 2, 3, like it could be in any range. It could be the positive or negative. But whereas this logistic model, so the nature of this logistic model is such it always have to give you the discrete value. Let's say that would be either 0 or 1. So we normally apply this order of success extension of an equation to this linear model to get the equation of this logistic regression. So if you can see this, so this is an extension of the order of the success, and where this is an equation of the straight line. So where this beta naught plus beta 1 x1 plus beta nxn, it could be go up to till n, based on the number of the columns what you are having in the data set till the random error term. So this beta naught is always the intercept, beta 1 which has been multiplied with the x1, this is the coefficient. Similarly, you can have the multiple coefficient for the different number of columns what you are having it. On this side, we always take as a dependent variable, and this you can term as an independent variable. So now let's understand this in more deeper. Let's get into it and understand this diagrammatically. So the main goal of this logistic regression is to predict the probability of this condition, and that would be based on a certain threshold value using the sigmoid function. So once we find the probability, it would be either 1 or 0. Let's say this green color plotted on this graph is my actual value, and this red color S line which you are seeing here, it is my S curve, and we divide this graph using one constant saying as 0.5, which would be my threshold value. So if suppose the predicted value is lies, so if suppose this is one of my predicted value and it's greater than this threshold value as 0.5, if it lies above than that, so we in this case we always make as the probability as 1. If in case the probability lies, this data point lies, the predicted value lies less than 0.5, in that case we will going to mark the probability as 0. In the same way, if we're going to take up this example for the face of an Harvard, so in this case, if we can see the half face of him is good and the half face of him is kind which depicts is devil. So the part from where here, if it divides his face into two parts, so that particular line we can say as the threshold line or the threshold value. So for that particular line, if you see the half face, it's saying as the good man. If the half face and another half face of him says him as a devil. Similarly, the same concept apply for this logistic regression. And this logistic regression, the output of this logistic regression is always in discrete manner, that is in categorical in nature. So it would be always give you either high, low, 0, 1, true, false, or like a kind of yes or no. Whereas the linear equation, the equation what we have for the linear model, the value, it can be greater than 0, 1, it could be any value depending upon the situation. But whereas in logistic model, it would be always have to be 0 or 1. So this is an equation of logistic regression, that is p equals to 1 by 1 plus e to the power minus p naught plus p1 x1 b2 x2 plus pn xn. It can go up to any n value depending upon the number of the columns what you are having in the data set. So don't get confused by seeing this equation, because this equation seems to be quite different from this equation. Later we're going to see like how we can derive this. This is an extension of the order of success. First we're going to talk about this, then we're going to see how we can apply this order of success on this equation, the straight line, to get this particular equation of the logistic regression. So let's move on and see this part, like order of success. So odds of success always talks about the probability of the event happening by probability of the event not happening. So in this case, the theta is always equals to y by 1 minus y. So y is my probability of the things happening by probability of the things not happening. Let's say for the given value, if the probability of the for the given value y is 0, so in that case, the odd of success would be 0. If the probability is 1, then in that case 1 by 1 minus 0. So 1 by 0 would be always infinity. So my odd of success would be always infinity. So odd of success is always like the probability of the things happening by probability of the things not happening. So now we're going to move ahead and see like how we can derive the equation of the logistic equation using the extension of calculation of this odd of success by applying on the equation of the straight line. Let's say if we have the equation of the straight line as this, and we know the actual sigmoid function formula is like fx equals to 1 by 1 plus e to the power minus x, which we have to get at the end. So this we want to derive at like how we can derive this for this logistic equation. And this is, as I said, this is an extension of my for odd of success. So the math behind this logistic equation always lies behind like applying the log. So if we apply the log for this odd of success, which would be always equal to the equation of the straight line. So once this is given, so on exponentiating both the sides, then we can get like px by 1 minus p of x is equal to the e to the power, the equation of the straight line. Let's assume e to the power beta naught plus beta 1 x1 till bn xn plus random error term. If we can term this entire thing as y, if we're assuming this as y, then p of x by 1 by p of 1 minus p of x is equals to y. So in that case, we can easily find the value of p of x. How we can find it? So p of x equals to y, here the simple calculation of it. We just need to multiply and we need to find the value of p of x. So at the end, what we had got is like p of x is equals to y by 1 plus y. So the p of x is equals to y by 1 plus y. So once we had got this, and we know like we had already assumed, like y is equals to e to the power beta naught plus beta 1 x1 beta 2 x2, it can go up to n, like what I said. We're going to replace y by the actual term, like what we had assumed that time. So on replacing y, we got this e to the power beta naught plus beta 1 xn beta 2 x2 by 1 plus beta naught beta 1 x1 beta 2 x2 and so on. Once we got that, we know the value of px is something like this. Then we can easily find the value of px. This is the final derivative equation of the logistic equation, where the p of x equals to 1 by 1 plus e to the power minus beta naught plus beta 1 x1 beta 2 x2 and so on up to the beta and xn. This is my final equation of the logistic equation. Let's see the difference between linear regression and logistic regression. So linear regression is always a regression model, whereas logistic regression is always a classification model. Linear regression always predict the value based on the continuous dependent variable, whereas logistic regression always predict dependent, like kind of categorical or discrete dependent variable that would be either in 0 or 1. We never use any activation function for linear regression, but where in case of logistic regression, we always use activation function. Like we use a sigmoid function to get it derived from linear regression. In linear regression, we always assume the normal or the Gaussian distribution of the dependent variable, whereas in logistic regression, we always assume the binomial distribution of the dependent variable. In linear regression, the evaluation, what we do is the least square estimation, which we use to determine the accuracy of the model. But whereas in logistic regression, we always determine the accuracy based on the maximum likelihood. If we're going to see this example, if we can see this screenshot, like for this small diagram, like Chennai Super King versus Mumbai Indians. So now, if we have to take this example, so we can apply linear regression and logistic regression on it. So on the first scenario, if we have to predict whether the Chennai Super King will going to win the match or not, in that case the value are already discrete, like whether it will going to win or not, that would be the true or false. Then in that case we are going to go for logistic regression, where it will going to give me categorical dependent variable, like the values would be always based on discrete values, that would be on 0 and 1. But in case if we have to predict like how much Chennai Super King can score, like at what value it has to score, like how much it can score, so for that particular thing we need to go for linear regression. So like based on the particular match session or the previous data, we have to predict in this particular match how much Chennai Super King will going to score. So these are the two scenarios, like on this we can actually define where can use this linear regression and logistic regression. So if you're going to see this diagrammatically, in this linear regression, so most of my data points lies near to my best fit line. So if this is my best fit line, so most of my data points lies around it, and the values could be anything. It hasn't always had to be 0 or 1. The range can be anything. It can be determined, and that would be always kind of continuous outcome. But whereas in case of logistic regression, the outcome, as we said, like is it always an binary outcome, that would be the discrete value 0 or 1. So if based on the threshold value, if we are dividing our S curve, if my data points lies above my threshold value, then we can say that as the class B, or if the values lies between less than this threshold value, we can say this, we can rename that particular data point as the class A. So you can see here all the data points which are lying are always discrete. Either it has to be lie across the 0, or it always have to lie across the value 1. So that's the major difference between this logistic regression and linear regression. So once we get a brief understanding of the difference between this linear regression and logistic regression, and knowing the use case where we can particularly apply, like how much it has to score in this particular match to win for the Chennai Super King. For that, we will to use linear regression. With the Chennai Super King will to win or lose that particular match, then we can go for logistic regression. Now we can go ahead and see the different evaluation matrices used for depicting the accuracy of the model of the linear regression. Now, as far as accuracy has been concerned, for determining for the model, the evaluation matrix, what we have for this logistic regression is a confusion metric, then classification report, and accuracy score, which all three, using all three, we can actually determine the performance and the accuracy of the model. So first we're going to see like what is confusion matrix and what are the different types of confusion matrix. So once we understand that, then while doing the actual live coding session, then we will see how we can do this classification report, how we can generate this report and the accuracy score. And while doing this confusion matrix, we'll also going to see how we can manually calculate the accuracy score if in case like we don't want to import the API, or like if we don't want to call it through API, how we can manually calculate the accuracy of the model using the confusion matrix. So let's first see like what is confusion matrix. So confusion matrix is basically which evaluates the quality of the output of your classifier on the data set. So if we have 2 by 2 confusion matrix, so this diagonal elements is always represent the number of points for which the predicted value is always been equals to true level, whereas this off diagonal elements, which are those which been mislabeled, is been always represent which have been mislabeled by the classifier. Whereas like the higher number of values which will be present on the diagonal, it indicates like the more correct prediction which have been predicted by the model. So there are some different terminologies to understand this. True positive, false negative, which we often term as type 2 error, then false positive, type 1 error, and the true negative. There are different formulas for calculating sensitivity, specificity, accuracy, negative predictive value, and the precision. So these are the different formulas by which we can calculate like the value of this particular each of these terminologies using for this 2 by 2 matrix. So let's say for this 2 by 2 matrix, so first to understand the basic terminologies like what we have here, like what is true positive, what is false negative, what is false positive, and true negative. So for this 2 by 2 matrix, if suppose on the this side, if we take that as an actual class as the number of the rows like positive and negative, and the column if we take as a predicted class. So in that case, if suppose that we define the true positive as if the predicted value is positive and the actual class that is also positive, then in that case we define that as a true positive. So for this scenario, if this doctor is saying this lady as pregnant, so in that case that is the case of true positive. If the actual predicted class is negative and actual class is also negative, so in that case that would we can term that as in true negative. So for this true negative, for this man, if suppose the doctor is saying him, no, you are not pregnant, so in that case, so that would be true negative. Third one is false positive. We often term this as type 1 error. So in this case, if the predicted class is positive and the actual class is also negative, then in that case, this we can term as false positive. So what does this mean? So for this scenario, For this guy, if the doctor is saying him the predicted, like you are pregnant, so in that case for this man, if the doctor is saying him as pregnant, so this we can often term as type 1 error or the false positive. The fourth one is false negative, for which we call as an type 2 error, where the predicted class is negative and the actual class which we is positive. So what does this mean? If suppose the lady is already pregnant, and by seeing you can say like she's an 8-month-old pregnant or something, then and doctor is saying no, you are not pregnant, so that is a type 2 error or the false negative. So this were the basic terminologies of the confusion matrix. Now we're going to see the types of confusion matrix, like the normalized and the non-normalized one. So if we are to plot a kind of diagram, then in this case what the first thing comes, like if we see across the diagonal the values which we are predicted, so it is like without normalization. So this confusion matrix depicts the value without normalization. It depicts the number of values, like for this setosa, the number of setosa which is already predicted, that is 13. Whereas like for this, if in case for the versicolor, the versicolor is predicted as 10, whereas for the rest of its value is depicted as 6. So there's a difference between, like it had predicted 10 and the rest it had mispredicted as 6, and it had mispredicted as Virginissa. So for all this kind of different, if the values have been different, like I said, for the off labels, if we see the off label off diagonal elements are those which have been mislabeled by the classifier. So all these elements have been mislabeled, have been misly interpreted by, but this have been predicted correctly. So the number of the values which have been predicted correctly is 10. So this is without normalization, and this is with normalization. In case of with normalization, it always be in the kind of the value is between 0 and 1. So if you can see here, this is 1300 and this is the accurate exact, like 1 is been predicted and the rest all been termed as 0. Whereas in this case for the versicolor, it has been predicted as 0.62, and for like and 0.38% it had predicted at Virginia. So for this 2 value it had predicted the different kind, so that is between 0 to 1, so it had predicted here. So this is the confusion matrix, the normalized confusion matrix for that particular value which had depicted the value, and this is without normalization. So these were the different types of normal, like for this confusion matrix, the different types. So I hope like till this part, like confusion matrix has been clear now. For this classification report and the accuracy, we're going to see this part like while doing the live coding session of this particular model. So let's start that particular thing. So before drilling into the live coding session for this logistic regression, let's talk about the different types and the use case of this logistic regression. So in every day-to-day life, we can use this logistic regression. It depends upon the scenarios like where we can apply this. So if I'm about to list it, so there are many examples, but out of that, like the few example which we can see here is like the spam detection. For example, based on your mailing data, what kinds of mail you are getting based on a subject header, information of the body, and whatever the things in there in the particular mail from the keywords, you can actually detect whether that particular mail is either spam or not. So that is spam detection you can do for the mail. The second thing is about weather prediction, like based on the previous data, whether it was honey, whether it was sunny, hot, or like the cloudy. So based on that, you can predict whether today it will be going to rain or not. So the values are always discrete. So what I am saying here, it would be always whether, like in the first scenario, the mail would be either spam or not. the rain, like for the weather prediction it would be rain or not. For the illness prediction you can do like based on the previous health information of that particular user, you can actually say like whether he will going to get the cancer or not in the future, so that you can predict this credit. In the similar fashion you can do it for the credit card fraud, for the vote prediction, for the match prediction as well. Like for the vote prediction, what you can do is like for the different scenarios, for the different demographics data you can take up and you can actually see there, and you can predict like based on the number of things what the user has been liking on the social media post, what kind of content he is viewing, and what all the data for that particular user. You can actually predict like based on his mentality, like whether this particular vote is been will be won by that particular party or not. So that vote prediction, like in like what how Trump did in his while election was going on, so how I did that. So in the similar fashion you can do the vote prediction. Then last comes the match prediction. So here we can actually determine who will going to win the match, either Mumbai Indians or Chennai Super King. So who will going to win? So that would be always binomial, that is between either true or false. Either Chennai Super King will going to win or not, either the Mumbai Indians will going to win or not. So for this, it's always binomial. So this we can do the match prediction. So there are different types of logistic regression. So there are basically two types like binomial and multinomial. So in binomial, there would be always a one class for which you have to predict either true or false, whether Chennai Super King will going to win or not. So that you can predict. But in case of multinomial, let's say you have a different classes, like for this example, for this cat, you can predict whether this is cat or not. If suppose if it get multiple, let's say it come as dog, for this dog also you can predict whether this is dog or not. So this multinomial we normally use in kind of deep learning classification, where in transfer learning we used to predict different sets of images, like if suppose if we have four different set of classes like cat, dog, horse, woman. So you can predict by inputting the certain image data, you can predict whether that particular image belongs to which class. So I have already talked about like this binomial in deep in one of my videos, like where you can go and see like in this uh, for this transfer learning how we can actually predict, and how we can actually use transfer learning to predict the different set of classes. So moving ahead, so the last thing what we have to do is like we have to start up with a live coding session in Python. So for this we're going to take up the two use case. The first use case would be taking up with the Titanic data. Well, based on this Titanic data, where we're going to predict that the person's survival prediction, where that particular person would have survived or not based on his data. And the second would be the ad click prediction. So based on his the number of the site he visits, the time of the way he spends the time on the app, or like whatever the recommended ads what we would be predicting him, like we would be recommending him, so based on that whether he would be click on that particular ad or not. So these two live coding session we're going to do for this two part. So in this two part, we're going to cover the basic, the infrastructure of it would be the pre-processing and analyzing of the data, where we're going to find the missing data from the data set. Then we're going to clean the data. Then we're going to convert the data if any category function features needs to get changed into, if that is in a string format or some other format, if we need to change in the categorical feature. Then we're going to create the logistic regression model for that particular regression. Then we're going to train and predict on that. And then at last, we're going to do the evaluation of the model. So that would be basically divided into the three sections. First would be classification report. Second would be confusion matrix, which I had already explained you in my previous slides. And the last would be the accuracy score. So we're going to cover up all these three evaluation once we're going to train and predict from our model. So all this we're going to cover up you using some kind of input library, what we're going to get, like NumPy, Plotly, Pandas, Seaborn, and Matplotlib. So you using this, we're going to clean, we're going to pre-process the data, train, evaluate. So all this thing we're going to do using this APIs. So let's start there. Okay, so now let's move ahead, and we're going to start off with the person survival prediction. So for this, I'm going to open my Jupyter notebook. So in my Jupyter notebook, I'm going to start off with this. So first thing, what we're going to do is, like, for the first use case, person survival prediction, first we're going to cover up this part. Then we're going to go and see this ad prediction. This ad prediction, that user ad prediction, we're going to cover the second use case. So for the first use case, to start up with this, the first thing what we're going to do is, like, first we're going to import up all the libraries which would be needed for this. So once I import my libraries, then the second thing would be about my reading my data. So I have my training Titanic data set which I had already downloaded from Kaggle. So you can actually go in Kaggle and you can download this training data set and the test set, and you can use this data set. So you can find the descriptive of the data dictionary, like what kind of data it holds and what it is. So you can use this Kaggle to download all your data set, and you can kind of do a kind of R&D on this part. So once my data set is available, the first thing I'm going to load is, like, I'm going to load this data set using pandas. So once I load my data set, then I'm going to show up my then head of it. So for this, I'm going to do train.head to show the entire data frame details, like the number of rows and the column of it. So once I did that, so I found the passenger ID, the survive column, P class, name, sex, age, SP. So what are all this? So the first thing is passenger ID. So these are the unique IDs is been assigned to the each of the rows of that particular person. Survived is about the discrete value, whether that person already survived or not. So based on the data, you can actually know whether that person actually survived or not. Third is my P class. So P class says about the passenger class, like from this ticket, which class he was boarding. And the next is name, the name of the passenger. Next is sex, like the male or the female of the passenger. Then age, then SIB SP. Then what is the SIB SP? It's the number of sibling or the particular passenger on board the Titanic or not. Then next is par ch, that is parent children brooded. So like how, like the parent children relationship, in that how many person had actually boarded the Titanic. Next is the ticket. This says about the ticket number. Then next is the fare, about the fare, the ticket based on it. Then the number of cabin assigned to it. Here you can see some null values, NaN, null values, null values. Then at last is the embarked column. So embarked column talks about the notation of the different location, whether he is from the southern hemisphere, and C depicts for the other location. So now once you got that, you will need to do train.head to count and see the number of rows column of the data frame of the each feature. So once you do that, you see there are total 891 entries for that particular data set, that is from 0 to 890, total 891 entries, and you can see the data type of each of the columns. If you want some kind of statistical information about the data frame, then you can go ahead and do train.describe. So once you will to run this, you will see the count of the passenger ID, like this is not needed, like how many actually people survived, that is 891. The P class, like the passenger class total, then the age, this is also not needed, the total count of it. So you can see all this count, mean, standard, mean, 25%, 50%. So all this statistical information you can do by just doing train.describe. So once that is done, you load your data set. The next part would be doing the kind of exploratory data analysis on that particular data, where you will to see whether any missing data is there or not. So if you remember, like when we had did this data.head, in the cabin column we have directly seen like few number have been marked as NaN. So this NaN is this says about like my missing data for that particular column. So now so what you can do is, so before starting that, so first you need to find the missing data in your data set. To do that, first thing you will going to do is train dot is null. So when you need to call this API, it will going to show you like how many datas have been actually null, the number of uh, values are there. So this is in discrete values, these are false and true. So here you can see it's true for this cabin. The first, for the first row it is saying as true. That means for the first row, for this passenger ID is 1, for this the NaN was there. So this, for the first passenger ID, the cabin is not known. So for this, here we are having the missing data. So this you can actually find it by just doing train.isNull. So the next thing would be just generating the heat map to see. So because here, like if your data set is too large, if you're working in a production environment, then in that case, instead of doing that this train.isNull, you can actually generate a heat map using the Seaborn to see whether any missing data is there or not. So for that, what I'm going to do is I'd already imported this as SNS. So this is my Seaborn. So this is my Seaborn as SNS, which I'd already taken. So if I'm going to do is SNS dot heat map and calling train.isNull, y tickables as false. I don't want this any labels on this y-axis, and C bar is true for this kind of, you can say, uh, mm, the values. So for this, even this also I can mark as false. And the C map, which normally talks about the color. So for this, if you're going to run this, see, so you can see here, based on this heat map generated, few like 20 or 30% of your age is missing for most of the customer, and cabin information is missing for almost most, like around 80% of the cabin information is missing from most of the customer. And in the last one, for the embarked, like for only one or two columns, like this embarked information is missing, like where that particular passenger is traveling to, so that is missing. So once you had got this from the heat map, so now we're going to see using matplotlib how you can actually see the and validate against the different data. So first I'll want to check. So first I'm going to set the style of it, and in my case I am setting as a dark grade. In your case you can set as a different if you want. So once that is done, using a Seaborn count plot, first I'm going to see how many person has survived on that particular data set. To do that, once I want to run this, so on running this, I found like the number of people died is more than 500, and the number of people survived, that is around less than 400 and is greater than 300. So this says the number of count, and this x-axis says this survived, that is either 0 or 1. So this 0 represents the number of people died, and the 1 says the number of people actually survived. So for this, so once we got this, now we know the people survived or not. So once we got that, so now we're going to evaluate against the sex, like how many people had already survived based on the gender. To do that, so using the Seaborn count plot, I'm going to call this X as survived and hue I am going to set as sex, and that would be on train data, like the data frame on which we want to load it. So on running this, I'm going to get my graph as this way. The number of people didn't survive, so in that the blue line, the blue color says about the male and the orange color says about female. So the people, as you can see, the people who had didn't survive, most of them are male. So male, so in gender, most of the male didn't survive, and the people who had survived, so in that most of the female had survived. So in this case, like is compared, like it looks like more male had died as compared to women. So now we're going to move ahead, and we will going to see like for this surveyed based on the classes. So on doing this based on the classes, like as I told you, so we have three different type of classes. P class was P class, P P class, either 1, 2, 3, like how many classes are there. So based on the classes, as you can see, so there were basically three classes: class 1, class 2, class 3 in the ship. So class 3 for the class 3, like in the Titanic, so for in that particular ship for the class 3, most of the people which we had died, those are from the class 3. And most of the people, like there have been average marking for the people who had survived, and most were from class 1 and class 3. There, this had been slightly low in case of class 1. So there have been average people had survived in case of classes, the people who had survived, but in case the people who didn't survive, so most of the people are from the third class. So once that is done, now we're going to see like based on the age, like what in between, like what age people have survived or died. So for that we're going to create one desploit using the Seaborn. We're going to pass this column as an age, and we're going to drop NA. Why drop NA? This will not display all the null values which we have for age. As you can see, 20% of the age data is already missing in our data set. So we're going to pass as drop NA. And KD I'm marking as true for this kind of graphical thing. You can, in your case, you can mark as false. Color I had set to red, and the number of beans as 50. So once I'm going to run this, so you going to see, so most of the people who had died, they are mostly between the age of 20 to 30. Like for the 20s, the people who were in 20s, they died more. For the people who were in 30s, they had died more. And there had been and it's not about the died, it's about the number of age of the people who had onboarded the ship. So in the ship, basically the people who were there, so most of them were on 20s and 30s. So it is between 20 and 30, and the people who were like more than 70s or the 65s, there were very less people. So this column says about the number of count of the people, like how many people were there, and this says about the number of age. So for this, like it says about the values is good because it says 20, between 20 and 30, most of the people were between 20s and 30s. So moving ahead, so there's a different way of visualizing this. Like if you don't want to use Seaborn, you can do that using the matplotlib. So for that, what you need to do is you need to use that particular column and you need to create the histogram of it. So for histogram, you need to pass the number of bends, color, and the alpha. In my case, I'm setting it to 0.7. You can change this if you want. So on executing this, you will going to get something like this. Yeah. So these are the two different ways like how we can plot. If you have to plot anything based on the age, if you based on the column, if you want to plot anything, any histogram, you can either go by the Seaborn or the matplotlib. It's your choice. So once that is done, then we're going to see the SIP SP column. Like there was one column SIB SP, which talks about the number of siblings of the passenger onboarded. So for that, what we need to do is we need to create a count plot of it. We're going to just pass the SIB column of that data frame would be trained. On passing this, you will going to get values something like this, where you can actually see there are zero number of SIB SP, like the relation which talks about the siblings of that particular passenger. So there are very less siblings were traveling on the train. There are total count of 600. So there are almost 600. So most of the people were kind of couple or something. So there were not too many brothers and sisters were on the plane. So there would be kind of businessman or some other people. So this we can depict from this particular SIB-SP column. So once this is done, we're going to move ahead and we're going to see the fare column. So if you want to print this fare column, we're going to see the values of it, like the values of the fare column, but we want to plot the histogram of it using the matplotlib. Then we can do it in this way. We just need to create, so for this column we just need to call this dot hist, and we need to pass the color red. If you don't want, you don't pass it. So in my case I have used this red. If you can remove this also, so in this way also it will going to show. But if you want to put some color to it, add some color to it. And if you want to add some bin, here I hadn't given any bins. Let's say bin size as 30. Yeah, so this had given me the matplotlib of the histogram from the matplotlib from that fare column. So once I got the fare column, so I will be doing like I would be setting, so I can increase the size of it. So how I want to increase the size of it, I can actually specify the bins. Here I didn't have specified it, so let it be like that. Here I can actually specify the bins and the figure size. If you want to increase the size of this in the Jupyter notebooks, so you can actually increase the size of it. So for plotting this was about using the matplotlib, the same way you can do using cufflinks. So for you using the cufflinks, you need to import this cufflink library, SCF, or like whatever names you want. You can make this as go offline in case you don't want to use it online. So once you imported that library, so now that for that, instead of this hist, you need to call the API as iplot. In that you will to put the kind as hist for the histogram. Why cufflinks? Because in matplotlib you cannot go and see each of the values, you cannot zoom or you cannot see the values. But after using the cufflinks and passing the kind as histogram, you can set the beans and the color. On hovering over each of the data, you can actually see like in what range what data is present. So this is kind of more interactive as compared to matplotlib. And you can like to see that particular data. If you want to see the data between 0 to 100, you can actually zoom this part and you can see. So this will to show us between 0 and 600, so you can actually zoom and see all those data. So this is kind of some more information or more features given for this cufflink. So cufflink is like kind of more interactive as compared to matplotlib. So this way we had covered the fare column, we had seen the fare column. So we had almost explored the entire column of it, like one by one we had went and we had went ahead and we had seen the survived column. Then we had survived with sex, survived with the age, survived with the P class, and the age of that particular thing we have to do. It's based on the data. We have to do kind of exploratory analysis on the data sets. So for most of the thing we are dead. So now the next thing would be the data cleaning. So now, as we had already generated the heat map before and we have seen like most of the age data set. In the age column, around 20% of the data were missing, whereas in the cabin, around 80% of the data were missing. And this age was in a kind of numerical format, like for this kind. So we need to put the age for it. So we're going to see like how we can put some age for the missing data for this cabin. Either for the missing, we're going to see like how we can actually fill the data, or we have to replace this, or we have to drop this column, or we can mark this as kind of discrete value, either cabin is present or not. So that we're going to cover up now. Yeah. So in this data cleaning, first what we're going to say is like we're going to plot a kind of if suppose from the seaborn, if we are doing this kind of count plot, so we can generate the count plot, but we will be able to visualize, but the data would like we won't be able to visualize in the good manner. So for that we're going to use the box plot for the two different columns, and we're going to see first we want to set the size of it. So I want in this size, so I set this as 12 and 7, and using the box plot we're going to pass this P class, which would be my passenger class, and my age column. So for this two column, based on my data, like for this data frame train, we're going to call this, and we're going to see like for the first class, most of the age of the people was between 30, like 25 to 50, and for the second class the age was between like kind of 22 to 35 something. So the age, or like kind of for the third also, like it was little less than the previous, which is actually true, because by age you will going to acquire more wealth, and you will going to travel in more kind of good class. So the wealthier people were like kind of high age, and those were traveling in class 1. So this way we had seen the wealthier passenger were in the higher class and tend to be much older as compared to the class 3 passengers. So now we're going to use the average value to calculate the age of it. So to calculate the average value, now we had seen this slice between somewhere around this to this would be the 37. So we're going to write one small function, let's say as the compute h, where we're going to pass the columns, and based on the column we're going to, in return we're going to get the number of average age of the particular column. So for this, we had already seen there are so many data we are missing. To fill out this data, we're going to we're going to fill the average age instead of this particular missing data. Yeah. So for this, we're going to write a small function. We're going to pass the columns. To pass the columns from this column, where we're going to pass the two columns. It depends like how many we want. But if we like, we're going to store age in from the column 1, and we're going to store the P class from the column 2. Now, if our data is missing, if suppose PD dot is null is of age, if suppose that data is missing, so for that particular P class, so for that particular P class which is associated with the P for that particular row, so for that we're going to pass the age as 37 if the class is 1. If the class is 2, because the class would be always be in 1, 2 or 3. If the class is 1, then we're going to pass the average as 37. If the class is 2, we're going to pass the average as 29. If the class is 3, then at last we're going to pass the average as 24. So in the same way, if the class is 1, the same way we had written the code of this. This is a small logic to pass the average age. If the age is missing, then based on the class, we're going to returning the average age. If not, then we're going to return the actual age of the passenger, which is already there. So now let's apply this function to see how my data will going to look. So now I have to apply this across columns. So for this train, so in train of H, I have to store it. So for this, what I want to pass, I want to pass two columns, age and P class, and that I have to apply on compute age, which would be my method. And I'm passing the axis as 1 just because I had to apply it across the column. So on running this, I had already stored like train on this train age. So once I had already, so whatever I had calculated it, so on the same data frame I'd store in the age column. So once that is done, I will go ahead and I'm going to generate this heat map to cross check whether that the age column is been filled or not. So for this, I'm going to run this. So see, so now as of now, after generating the heat map, so there's a no missing data in my age column. So all my age column data has been filled. So I have my age for all of my passengers. So it looks like there's a no any missing data in the age column. So now so once this part is done for the age, similarly we're going to go and we're going to see for this cabin, like what needs to be done. Either we have to drop this, either we can drop this, or because this cabin information where of some different values, we can make it as whether that cabin is present, either whether the user is allocated the cabin or not, because like 80% of the data is missing. So we can do for that. So in our scenario, as of now, like most of the data is missing for this, so we're going to drop this particular column age, like this cabin, we're going to drop this particular thing row, and we're going to drop this embark. So once I want to run this, if I want to do train dot head, so you can see here this cabin, this data information is missing, so many data information missing, and apart from this, like so many data missing. So now yeah, give me a moment please. Yeah, so now we're going to see like for the cabin whether we can uh, do this or not. So first we're going to drop this particular cabin column. So when this cabin column has been dropped, and after generating the heat map, so for this entire thing we saw like we don't have the cabin column, we had only left with the embark thing. So we had dropped this cabin column from our data set. So once we had dropped it, we're going to do train dot head to see, yeah, train dot head to see whether that column is present or not. So we had already dropped this cabin information from our data set. So if any cabin information we had already dropped it, so in that case we had only left with the embarked. So in this case only for the one data was missing. So in the same way we can drop any missing values for our data sets. Cabin is not found, yeah, it had already been dropped. So we can see Kevin was not there. So in the same way, if you want to drop any missing values from your data set, so you can do train dot drop NA in place as true. So on running this and running generating the heat map, so you can finally see for this embark column, so for that particular row where the data set was missing, we had dropped it. So for that particular row is been deleted from my data set. So as of now it's been a final solid color, and it's been a clean data which we had generated it. So this is the kind of complete clean data we had done. So till here we had done, we had seen how we can visualize the missing data and we can clean the missing data. So once this part is done, we're going to move ahead and we're going to see like how we're going to see how for the different columns where we have different more than one values, let's say in a string or some other values. So first we're going to see, like we're going to do train.info to see the data type of each of the column. Like for this co column as name, so for this column as name, we know the data type is a string. So that is in a string format, which we actually cannot feed it to the our model. So we need to drop this. Then we're going to see like whether how we can use this sex, male and female, convert this gender to certain kind of discrete value, or you can say kind of categorical feature. This is now we're going to convert in our sex column to the categorical feature that would be in a discrete value, either 0 or 1, from which we can actually predict the gender of that particular passenger. Then we're going to see so in our data frame, so only these two information, like for the name is irrelevant, which we cannot feed to our data. And this embark also we can see like how we can, if we has a multiple value, how we can remove this or how we can change it to categorical feature. So to do that, using Panda, we're going to do get dummies. So for this train, for this get dummies, first we're going to do, we're going to pass the train for the sex column, we're going to pass into it into the get dummies. On executing this, we're going to get something like this. So did depicts like for this passenger 0 to 890 entries, for the female 2 and the false value, the discrete value. For this female, this says as 0, that means it's a male. For the male, it's 1. So for the one column, it has too many information. Like for that one column, for the gender, it is having female as well as it is having the male. To do that, so first like we cannot feed this kind of information to our model, which we're going to ruin the accuracy of the model. To do so, we're going to remove some data out of it, from which one value we can actually predict whether that is a male or female. To do that, what we're going to do is, to using this get dummies, we're going to pass the column name and we're going to drop the first row out of it. So on executing it, we're going to, it will take some time. Yeah, so it executed it. So once we're going to do train dot head now. Now we need to do sex.head to see the kind of data it is holding. So now we can see, like for all my data, it is having only one column as 1. So 1 says it's male and 0 says it's not a male, that would be the female, which we had already seen. So we had dropped it and we had seen the number of values out of it. So after dropping it, we had checked it and we had seen the kind of head. Now we had only one column to identify the gender of that particular passenger. So in the similar fashion, we're going to see like for the embark column, whether we need to drop it or we're going to see it. So for this embark column, we're going to get the dummies, we're going to pass that particular column, we're going to get the dummies, and we're going to drop as 2, we're going to drop the first column. So we're going to execute this part. So on executing it, we're going to do a head of it. So we saw only, as of now, we have only two columns, Q and S. If you remember, going up, we were having three values, S, C, and the third value which we have seen, which was not shown there, was Q, S. So now we have dropped the Q values. Like what are the Q value were present there, we had dropped it. So once we had dropped it, so now this way we can kind of identify like from which particular city that particular user has been traveling, either values as 0 and 1. So there were the multiple, out of the multiple we can easily see based on that particular column C, we can easily find whether that is traveling to that particular location or not. So once that is done, we're going to go ahead and we're going to remove few of my columns. So I had already explained you. So there were the few columns which we don't want to feed to our data. We don't want the accuracy of the data of the model to get bad. So for that we will not going to feed this name column. We're not going to feed them with the ticket or the fare. So what we're going to do is we're going to take up the relevant column which we have to pass it to the model. So for that we're going to take out the relevant column and we're going to drop the rest of it. So first we're going to drop the passenger ID, like the unique ID of the passenger, what we don't need. We're going to drop the gender of that particular passenger. We're going to drop the embark, which we don't need at all. We're going to drop the name and the ticket number. So on dropping this, so we have dropped this particular all this the selected columns from this our data frame. So once that is done, we're going to whatever the kind of column we have generated, like for the strain, uh, let's say for the train, like for the sex and the embark, what we have generated it, let's say for the sex we can identify using male or the female, like this what we have generated it in the sex, so this we're going to input here, and this embark like what we have generated it here. So based on the get dummies, we're going to concatenate in our data frame and going to store in the same variable. So I'm executing it. So once we had stored it, we're going to do a cross check by doing train.head. So once we did, so we found that we have only left with the survive column, p class, age, sib_sp, pass ch, like parent children, number of sibling on that particular passenger, fare, male, like for the either that's male or female, that's the q and s. Q depicts for one location, s depicts for certain different location. In our case it was southern hemisphere or somewhere. So now our data is clean and ready for our model to feed. So once our data is ready, so now our data is done, we're going to go ahead and we're going to split our data set into two parts. Either like either we can do this, or as I told you from this Kaggle, you can train with this entire train data set, and you have the separate test data set to test on it. It's up to you, like how you want to do it. So in our case, we are using this model selection from this library. We are kind of importing this particular 10 test split module. So for this module, we're going to drop the survive column. So basically this column we have to predict it, like this column for that particular column where that particular user will going to survive or not. So we're going to store that in the y variable, and the rest for the train we're going to drop the survive, because and apart from this, like all would be my independent variable which we have to predict it. So based on that particular independent variable, we have to predict the dependent variable. So we're going to store this in the x column, and the with the value which we have to predict it, we're going to store in the y column. So we're going to import this part. So once importing of the train split is done, we're going to store this. Then we're going to divide this into the two different splits. So I already told you, if you do shift tab on the Jupyter notebook, you will going to get the full documentation on this particular API, how to use it with examples. So you can actually copy and directly use this here, which I had already did it before. So in my case, random state I had kept as 101. In your case, you can keep anything you want, but if you want the same result which I am showing this particular video, so for this you can go and check with the 101, and the rest is with the test size. So I am using 70-30 ratio. 70 data I am going to train with, and the rest 30 I am going to test with. So once this is done, I will going to see like once splitting of this data is done, then it comes about creating the object of this logistic regression. But before that, we're going to import this logistic regression from the scikit-learn.linear model. So once we're going to import it, so we have to create the object of it, and we're going to fit our training data into it. In my case, I got some warning, so I'm going to increase the size of it. Max iteration, yeah. So on increasing the max iteration size is 1000, which I had increased. So I got my logistic regression object in my log model. So once my log model is generated, so in that I can actually predict. I can pass my x-test data, which we had already kind of splitted. So based on this data, we're going to predict the prediction. So based on my X test, we're going to predict the value of the prediction. So once I got that, I'm going to print my prediction, and I got all the values, like which are the user actually survived or not. So once this is prediction part is done, training and prediction part is done for the model, we're going to see evaluate the particular model. So how good our model is, like in as I already explained you, we're going to see of the three different approaches, like for the classification with the classification report, with the confusion matrix, as well as with the accuracy score. So first thing we're going to see with the classification report. So for using with the classification report, we had to only import this particular classification from this module, from this library scikit-learn.matrices. We have to import this module classification report, and we can actually call this, and we can pass our white test data. We had already splitted it. Based on white test data, we're going to check against the prediction, like what all the prediction we had got. So on calling this, on executing that particular this line of code, we're going to get the number of like the accuracy with the precision, recall, F1 score, and the support. So here we can see like it's saying about like accuracy is around 0.84% or 0.83%, so which is good as compared to the model. So this model is good. So now this is the one thing, like how we can evaluate the model. The next thing would be, this is a one way. So the second way would be like using the confusion matrix, how we going to do it. So for doing with the confusion matrix, like I had already explained you like what is the confusion matrix. So give me quick recap on that. So I told you like the number of values based on this diagonal, the number of more values in this diagonal, it says like more good as my model is. In the similar way, if we, like for using this confusion matrix, we are from this scikit-learn, we have to import this particular module, and we have to call this API, and we will have to pass this white test against this predictions. So on executing this, we got 2 by 2 matrix, and that most of the data is sliced around 150, 72 diagonally, and the few had been mislabeled or misinterpreted as 13 and 32. As my accuracy is for 84, it stays around, it is good, it's good data. So this was the second kind of evaluation, like how you can do. The third thing would be using the accuracy score, how you can do this. Like again from the scikit learn library, you have to import this accuracy score. From this accuracy score, you can go ahead and you can just need to pass white test and the prediction, you will directly you will get the accuracy of your model, that is around 0.83. so in my case accuracy is around 0.831, like 83% of my accuracy of my model is. So once this is done, so this accuracy which you had predicted using this particular API, we can do it manually by confusion matrix. So what we need to do is we need to calculate the sum of the diagonals. Let's say in my case 150 plus 72 would be divided by 150 plus 13 plus 32 plus 72. This formula I had already explained you. To calculate the accuracy, the sum of the diagonal TP plus TP plus TN by TP, FP, TP, TN, FN and FP. So sum of all the cells. So in the same way, if you're going to do for that particular thing, if you're going to do for this, you will want to find the number of accuracy. So you can find the accuracy from the confusion matrix as well. So let's have a quick recap what we had done. We had imported the libraries, then required libraries imported, then we had load the data set, what we had load like from our training data set, like what we had the data set is available. So based on the data set, we had did kind of head and info to see the columns, to see the type of the column, and the information is there in the column. Once that column information we had got, we had did a kind of exploratory analysis on that data to find the missing data. And once we found the missing data, we had did kind of visualization against each of the particular column to see like how my data is there, how many person would have survived based on against each of the column. Like for the survives, like on 6, how many people have survived based on the gender, how many people have survived based on the class, how many people have survived based on the age. Then we had calculated the age, like what kind of age group person were traveling on the ship. Then at last we have seen the plotting the histogram using the matplotlib, using the plotly, as well as using the cufflinks. So this three way we have seen plotting the histogram. So once that is done, we had move ahead and we had did the kind of data cleaning, where for the missing values in the age column we had removed we had inputted kind of uh, average age for most of the data. So for that, after plotting the heat map, we have seen like most of the data which are missing is not missing. Then for this cabin information which was available, we had find it irrelevant, we had dropped it. Once we had dropped this cabin column and embark column, so once that is done, once our data is clean, then we have seen like if any information is there, we can convert it to the categorical feature to feed it to our data set. Then we had made our data set complete ready to feed it to our model. So once that is done, we had splitted our data set so into the two parts, that is an X text and Y test. So we had splitted our data set. So and based on the training data set, we had predicted the value of our model. So once we got the prediction, we had move ahead and we had did the kind of evaluation using the three different techniques. One with the classification report, second is with the confusion matrix, and third with the accuracy score. So by this we had did kind of training, we had did kind of pre-processing of data, cleaning of data, and creation and training of the model and evaluation of the model. So this way we had completed the first use case of this logistic regression, where we had at last found the actual accuracy of the model. So guys, we had already covered with the first use case where we had seen the person's survival prediction based on the Titanic dataset. Now we're going to see uh, the second use case where we're going to predict the ad prediction, like for the user recommended ads, whatever the system is recommending it. So based on that, we're going to see whether that particular user we're going to click on that particular recommended ads or not. So let's move ahead and start with that. So the first thing would be for this ad click prediction. The problem statement is like based on the information, based on the data, like what we have, we need to go ahead and we need to find what if the recommended ads has been set by the system, whether that particular user will going to predict it or not. So first we're going to do is the import the libraries what we need for it. Once we did importing the libraries, we have data available as advertising data.csv in my local. So we're going to load this particular data as an add data. So I have my data frame ready as add data. So once this is done, we're going to do a add data.head to see the number of columns and like what kind of data it has. So as of now, like I'm doing add data.head, we found that like the number of daily time spent on the site, age of that particular user, area income, daily internet users, add topic line, whatever the add topic line is there, then city wise, which city it's been residing at, then age of or like the gender of that particular user, country of it, timestamp, and the clicked on ads. This would be the dependent variable, like let's say as y, what we have to predict it, that would be either 0 or 1. So we had found all this data. So once we got that, we would do add data.info to see the number of entries into it. So we had found there are 1,000 entries into it, and each against each of the 1,000 entries, what are the data type of that particular row is available. So once this is done, we will do data.describe to see the statistical information of that particular data frame. So once we got that, so we can see the statistical data. Then the next step would be doing kind of exploratory analysis on that particular data set. So before that, we're going to use the Seaborn to kind of do kind of exploratory analysis on that. So for that, I'm going to setting up my style as a dark grid. This is like my choice. You can have your own. You can use white grid or something like dark theme. It's basically the different theme it applies to the background. So for this histogram, like for the first thing what we have to see, like what kind of age group or what kind of age is available in my data set. So the first thing we did, like for the each like for my age column, we had plotted the histogram using the color as red and the number of beans as 30, and my age label is in my x-axis, that is in age, and this is the number of count. So we can see the number of age, like the mostly people is around 30s and then around 35, or the in between the 30 and the 40. So most of the people who clicked on the ad, like who in our data set, so most of the people lies between. So the highest is like 27, 28 this age, then that is around 30, then 32, 35, 38, 39. So this kind of age. So once that is done, we're going to see like against the age, what's the area income. To do that, we can using the Seaborn, you can do joint plot, where we can pass the, in the x-axis we can pass the age column, where for the y column we can pass the area income, and the data set like the add data frame which we have, which we had loaded add data frame, and the color of that particular, like what you want to visualize it. So in my case I've taken as red, you can take anything what you want. So once this is done, you can see this information. So you can see this is been more clustered in this particular area. So user between age 20 to 35, around like let's say between 25 to 30, they spend more time, and they based on the area income, they tends to they have more data. This data has been more clustered around this age group. So once this is done, area income versus age, so once we found that this kind of been relevant across between the age group to from age 25 to 35 or 39, between this age group has been quite relevant. So once that is done, we're going to see the KD distribution of a kind of daily time spent on the site against the age. So for that, again we're going to do a join plot, and instead of doing, like, we can pass the age, and in the y column we can pass the daily time spent on the site, which is my column name, daily time spent on the site. And the data would be the data frame what we had loaded, color would be red, you can give any color as I said what you want, and the kind I have given as KDE. So this will going to show me kind of threshold value. So this, in this particular area, is been more densely black color, just because this area is more kind of populated. So using this KDE distribution, we can easily see this area between this age group, people have been tend to using the more, they tend to they are kind of every day spending more time on the site in between this particular age group. So once that is done, there's a different way we can use and see the different relationship between the different column. For that, we can, using the join plot, we can pass as in the x-axis we can pass daily time spent on site versus daily internet uses. So in this particular thing, I'm not passing the kind. So without passing the kind and passing my particular data frame, and the color is red, so I'm going to execute it. Yeah, so I will going to get this particular thing. So you can see it basically formed into the two cluster. So one cluster says about daily time spent on the site would be is around more than 70 to 690. I believe that would be in minutes. Daily time spent, daily time spent of the time in minutes. Yeah, so that is in minutes. So for this in minutes, so for the particular age group, so around 70 to 90 minutes, and based on the internet usage, if the internet usage is very low, the people spend less. If the internet usage is more, then people tend to spend more time. So this way we had seen the kind of correlation between daily time spent on the site versus daily time internet uses. So once that is done, you can see kind of bigger picture by doing the pair plot. You can pass the entire data frame, and hue you can keep as the clicked on ad. This is kind of the dependent variable against like what you want to check it. So when executing this, so it will take time based on the kind of data set you are loading. So it's taking time in my system. Yeah, so it got loaded. So once this has got loaded, you can see the daily time spent on the site. So this basically this we had kept the hue as clicked on ad. So, and this clicked on ad is in discrete value, that is in either 0 or 1. So again this value, so this blue color has been marked as not clicked, and orange color has been marked as clicked. So you can see like the daily time spent against like the user didn't click, most of the time user clicked. So from this overall picture, what we can see is like most of the time user had clicked on the ads like what we are recommending him. This is kind of totally two different segmented value. Why it is because, yeah, it is because male, because it has to be the male or female. In the similar fashion for this, either male or female. So for this particular column, that is has to be the male, that is 1, or the female, that is a 0. In the same way for this as well, and few of the data has been clustered. So this is kind of good information we had got. Using the pair plot, you can see the overall picture of it. So once that is done, you had analyzed and kind of did kind of exploratory data analysis for your data set. The next thing would be like you would be creating the logistic regression model. To do that, from the scikit-learn, you need to import, the first thing would be you need to, now once you had already analyzed your data, first thing would be splitting up your data set into two parts, like one for the training data set, one for the testing data set. So for doing that, from the scikit-learn, you have to import 10 test split. So in this first, what I will do is for the first thing, for the first row, I'll going to check my data set for the first column. So which I have seen is like this is my the first column is there. So before doing that, the column I'm going to see like what are the columns has been necessary for me to use, like whichever the relevant column which I can use, and I can test and like I can split my data based on that. So in my X variable, I'm going to store the daily time spent on the site, age, area income, daily internet uses, and the mail. I am excluding at topic line, city, country, timestamp. Just because this columns have been irrelevant for mine to determine or like to feed to the model, I am excluding this particular columns. And this particular last column clicked on data, this is my dependent variable, so this I would be storing in the y. So once that is done, using this scikit-learn as I told you, so you can just do shift and tab on this to see the documentation of it. So you can expand this and see based on the you can have the you can see the example and the documentation, entire documentation of it, like how to use this. So you can keep any random state in case you can put as 101 or 42. It's up to you. So 101 I am keeping it, or let's say 45 I'm keeping, or 45 I'm keeping it. So the test size I'm keeping as 0.33. So this 0.33 says about or let's say I'm keeping as 30. So this is a ratio where we can divide by saying like 70% of the data on which I am going to train the model, and the remaining 30% where I am going to test my model. So once this is done, once I'm going to execute this, so I prepared my training data set and my test data set. So once that is done, we're going to import the logistic regression using the scikit-learn, and we're going to instantiate it. So once I'll indicate the object of this like as a log model. Once this is done, I'm going to do a fit of it using the training data set. I'm going to pass X train and the Y train. So in executing this, I had already fitted that into the model. So I had created the model for it. So once my model is fitted with the training data set, so now comes about the prediction and evaluation. So for predicting it, I'll just have to call this log model dot predict, and I have to pass my X test, which I would be testing against my X test. So once I do that X test, so I got my prediction. So once my prediction is there, once I got my prediction, now it's time to evaluate the data. So as I told you, there are the three different ways from which you can evaluate the data. The first thing would be from the scikit-learn, you need to import classification reports. The first thing is the classification report, second is the confusion matrix, and the third thing is the accuracy score. Using three different libraries, you can evaluate your model, like how actually it had predicted based on your training data set or the training data set, like how good it had predicted. So using this classification report, you need to import this library, and in this classification report you need to pass your y test and the prediction. This y test would be the separated data which you had already separated here, y test. So using the X test you had predicted it, and using the Y test you will going to check against the prediction. So using the X test you had predicted it, and using the Y test you will going to check against the prediction, like how good it had predicted, in the sense like how good it is, the accuracy of it. So once you want to call this classification report, you will get the value something like this, where you can actually see the accuracy it is saying about it is around 90%, and there you can check the FN score, support, recall, precision. So all this column values you can see. The second thing which we're going to see is the confusion matrix. So for the confusion matrix, you just need to import this library. So once you import this library, and in this confusion matrix you have to pass the same y test against the predicted value. So the y actual value with the y predicted value. So once you do that, you got the 2 by 2 confusion matrix where you can see most of the data has been aligned to the diagonal. So diagonally most of the data is present, and few of the data has been misinterpreted in as 12 and 18. So it hadn't able to identify few of the data. So as my model, the score is 90%, so which we can actually calculate it by doing the sum of this diagonal by the total sum of the all the cells of the column and the rows. So to calculate that manually, what we have to do is we have to do 140 plus 130, sum of the calculation of the diagonal, then divided by total number of 140, 12, 18 and 130. That is like the total of the sum of the entire values present in the cell. So this way we can calculate, either we can calculate the accuracy manually, or we can go ahead and we can use from this scikit library, we can import accuracy score, and where we can directly pass white test against the prediction. So once that is done, we're going to execute it. So we got the accuracy as 0.9, that is like 90%. So accuracy of my model is 90%, which says like kind of good value. So by this we had completed our second use case, like for which we had predicted like whether that particular user will going to click on that particular user recommended ad or not. So we had already did this. So the last thing would be, yeah, so then next I would be working on some different algorithm. I would be uploading the videos soon, but before that what you need to do is you need to go ahead and do like, subscribe, share Cupola on our YouTube channel, and you can kind of encourage me to promote more videos, and where I will going to do kind of more videos to explain you in a better way, in the more pictorial way, where I can explain you the mathematical implementation of the algorithm with the live coding session, where I'm going to show you the both of the thing. So the code demos and the code snippets are already available on Cupola.com as well as GitHub. So this is my Cupola site, you can go and check there, and this is my GitHub link where I would be kind of committing all my code, so you can go ahead and check there. But before that I want to show you, this is a Cupola site. So this is my YouTube channel. So you need to go ahead and you need to like, subscribe, and you need to provide your valuable comments into it. But before that, like if you want to get more on this particular thing, you can go ahead and you can check this particular blogs here. You can find different kind of blogs related to the machine learning, Python, volume rendering, working in the in the 3D environment. So you can get everything here. So guys, that's all for today's for this video. We're going to see you next in the next video. So till then, goodbye.